Hi everybody, Chris with Clutter Reduction Junk Removal in Palm Beach County, Florida. And if you've been watching our channels lately, then you would see that I always have my wife with me on my jobs. But as of last year and then prior years before that, I actually did junk removal solo. I did everything by myself. Now, I have a lot of credit to give to the fact that before junk removal, I worked as a mover. So I was able to move over a lot of the techniques I learned to handle these bigger items in tight spaces and having to get out like sleeper sofas through tight hallways and navigate them through like under chandeliers, bring them downstairs, all that fun stuff. But in addition to knowing what to do, it also helps to have the right equipment. Now, junk removal, you're actively removing stuff from somebody's house. Could be bags, could be boxes, could be furniture, could be construction debris. Pretty straightforward premises, right? You can lift something up and carry it out, or you can use like a dolly or a hand truck, right? However, and especially working as a mover at different companies, I know firsthand that having a good quality dolly and having like a cheap $20 dolly is a huge difference in terms of how you handle the piece and the potential damage you may cause otherwise. So I'm going to show you real quick some of the pieces of equipment I keep with me all the time, whether I'm doing a moving job or I'm doing junk removal, even just moving stuff around the house. Now, let me just start off by saying a cheap piece of equipment can still get the job done. People have been doing it for decades. However, there are some things to keep mind of, and I think it plays a huge role when it comes to us doing a service where you're actively trying to not damage somebody's property. You're trying to get things done smoothly and efficiently, and I think this equipment will make that difference. So let me real quick just show you some of the stuff that we work with. A couple of items that you're gonna see you may not see in your local stores. I'll throw a link in the description of where you can buy it from, because one of them is a very sought out item that we often talk about that people are always asking about. The first thing is a dolly. Now, dollies, pretty straightforward. You can get them as cheap as 20 bucks in a Home Depot or Walmart or Harbor Freight, but that is the dolly I would not get. If you were gonna put that in your garage and put something heavy on it and never move it, that's fine. But if you're gonna be using it to actually remove items from people's houses, I would get a dolly that specifically has a 3 to 4 inch rubber caster wheel. The reason being is with the rubber caster wheels and the bigger ones, it's gonna help you get over cracks and grooves and uneven surfaces more smoothly. In addition, when you have plastic and they start to get damaged and get little chips on them, they can scratch up the floors, especially if you're on hardwood flooring a lot. So the rubber will help prevent that. It also gives you better friction whenever you're on tile, hardwood floor, or carpet. Now the next thing is a hand truck. Very common item, been used for decades by all services that have to move anything in multiples. But there are two things on a hand truck that I personally would opt out for versus some of the cheaper brands. Number one is the handle type. Now, when it comes to the handle, you'll see some of them have a handle like this, but not this one. Or they might just have two nubs, so you're carrying it like this. The only problem with the little nubs, and you'll see those on like the little cheaper basic dollies, the problem with those is you don't have a strong grip with them. Think about if you were doing a pull-up. If you were having to hold on to a straight bar in both hands, you're not going to be able to hold on as long as you would be if you can curl your fingers around a bar. So I would make sure to not get one of those dollies, personally. In addition, if your dolly only has this here, the only reason I don't really like this is because if you have a large piece sitting on it, it's going to be flush. Now, some of them will come out like this and they'll stick out a little, and that's one thing. But I would also point out that when you have something like that, unless you grab perfectly in the middle, you're always going to be a little bit off center of gravity if you're having to do that. Whereas if you get something like this, where you have a middle beam, you're pulling from the center of gravity. Your grip is the strongest grip that you will always have. A straight grip like this, think of like a hammer curl at the gym, that's always going to be your strongest grip versus having your hand like this or this. And in addition, like I said, you are in the middle of it, so you're going to have the center of gravity with whatever you have sitting on top of it, and it's out of the way from the front piece. So I personally would always get something with this handle. You can get both, so you can optimize it, but I would try to make sure that you have one in the middle here. And then the next thing is the wheels. When it comes to hand trucks, I would go for a larger wheel, at least 8-inch or more, and I would also opt out for the Carefree wheels. The reason being is they're not gonna break down under pressure when you have a really heavy item on it, like an inflated one would. You also don't have to worry about the tires ever going flat. They do go flat sometimes over just time, or they start to break down, or if you hit a nail or something, or a thumbtack. I've had one go flat from thumbtack. Like, out of all the things, a thumbtack, crazy. But the larger ones, just like the Dolly wheels, the thicker wheels versus the small plastic ones, it's gonna help you getting up and down stairs easier. It's gonna help you getting over weather strips easier. You'll be able to go through a more rough terrain with a little bit smoother ride. So overall, those are the two main things I would look for with a hand truck. And as you can see, it's getting progressively more hot out because I went from not sweating to sweating, and it's been like 10 minutes. But when it comes to a hand truck, those are the main things I would get. Whether it's steel, aluminum, I don't think it matters. It just comes down to how light the hand truck is. Like, mine is aluminum, so it's a little lighter than like steel magliner is. But overall, as far as quality goes, they all last a while if you don't treat them like shit. And then there is one thing I have on here that I recently got, and I did that more just for personal preferences. You don't have to get them, but that's stair climbers. So it's a little attachment that just hooks onto it. So when you're going up and down stairs, instead of going like this, it's a little bit more like this. So it just makes it a little bit easier, especially if you have to go upstairs for any reason. The next thing are mattress bars, or upright dolly bars. So these come in a huge handy for us. We use these for so much stuff. They sit on the dolly like so. You can take them on and off, but we use them to put mattresses in between, or heavy glass tops, marble tops, granite slabs, lots of wood, bed pieces like the bed frame, headboard, footboard, sideboards. Imagine taking apart a bed and having to carry each one out one by one because you can't sit it on the hand truck and you can't just lay it down on a dolly. Imagine having something like this where you could stick all of the pieces of a bed frame in one trip and then just wheel it out to your truck. You automatically are saving that time it would take you to do 3 to 4 trips. Or if you have 2 people with you, 2 trips. And this can be done with one, and it's less energy being used. So these are probably a more luxury item because they're a little bit expensive, but they pay themselves off in like the first couple of jobs. You can use these for so much. Like, if you've ever had to move a really heavy, stiff, flimsy king mattress that weighs like 300 pounds, and you're in like a storage unit or an apartment building, and you have to drag it down a hallway or carry it with somebody else, which again, 2 people, not the most efficient when you could have one person running an item each, then you know it sucks. This, it might be a struggle to get it on depending on how flimsy it is, but once you get it on, one person, you just pull it out. Now you don't have to drag it, you don't have to wait, you just control it from wanting to tip over side to side. But the dolly will eliminate the weight, and the handles keep it upright, so you have the power to just pull it as is. So these mattress bars are a huge bonus, and if you can get your hands on them, then I promise you they're going to make your life easier. So the ones we specifically have, we get from a local moving distribution, and if you don't have one near you, it's going to be harder. You can get them from places like New Haven Moving Equipment, or Amazon sells a similar one. It's not exactly the same. It has a screw in the bottom, so you might have to spend a minute or 2 each time you put them on, but it is worth it. So I'll have a link in the description for that if you want to check out Amazon, or if you can find a local moving shop or a moving website that sells them, then that would be your next best bet. But keep in mind, they are a little pricey. The ones on Amazon I think are less than $100, and some moving stores they're $150 to $250 for the pair. I think mine were $180 for the both. So, you know, kind of choose your power there with what you want to use. And then the last thing I actually have in my trailer, so I don't have accessibly to show, but I'll, you know, bring you over the trailer and show you. But that's going to be a laundry cart or something similar that you can use to put a lot of small stuff in and wheel it out to your truck versus making a bunch of small trips. So very common. You can use different types of things. You can even just use trash cans but I think something with a more open top that's a little bit larger in surface area is going to allow you to move a lot more, a lot faster. So I'll throw up some photos of the speed packs that we use, and for the speed packs, that's going to be a local moving distribution. I don't even think you can order those online unless you get bulk, and that's going to be costly. So I'm not going to use those as an example for trying to buy because they're hard to get. But I will use my laundry cart, which we also got on Amazon. I think it was $100 on sale. I think it's like $120 normally. But we've used it so far for construction debris and 4 jobs with heavier bags, and it's holding up pretty well. So I'll show you that real quick. So this is our laundry cart, and it's just a steel frame that you put together yourself. It already comes with wheels. They're 5-inch rubber wheels, and they're swivel, which makes things easier for going through doors. And then it came with the fabric. Now, when the fabric starts to get too beat up, it's like $70 to replace it, which is crazy considering the whole thing is $100. So what I'm gonna actually end up doing is just swapping it out for plywood, and I'll just zip tie it to the braces so I can interchange them easily if I need to. But something like this, where you can see the size difference between a trash can, and it's a little bit bigger surface area, so you can fit more into it and stack up. This makes things really easy when we have a lot of small stuff or bags or boxes. We can stack up a bunch of it and wheel it out in one trip versus having to run multiple. Plus it's already on wheels versus a garbage can, unless it has wheels too, then you're gonna have to use a dolly to move it, and then you're just killing 2 pieces of equipment at once. So we really like anything like this.